Hi guys, it's Summers here. I'm going to do something totally different from my YouTube channel here. I'm going to do a career mode on F1 2018. I mentioned this over on Twitter. I've been a fan of many of the YouTubers who do this sort of thing in general each year. And basically I just wanted to try to use it as a platform to try to explain some of the technical differences that we see with the cars and the ERS system, etc. So yeah, this is an opportunity for me to try to explain some of that stuff. Now, I'm not the best gamer by any stretch of the imagination, and I haven't actually touched an F1 game since 2016. Prior to that, I was using my Xbox 360 with a steering wheel and pedals, Fanatec setup. Unfortunately, that didn't work with my Xbox One, so I'm now only using a gamepad. Yeah, that's right, I am getting my racing driver excuses in before we even get out of the gate. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm just setting up my profile, etc., ready to get on into the game. And yeah, pretty straightforward in terms of what we're seeing. I'm going to obviously enter into the career mode, and now we're down to the team selection. And I've opted to choose Force India based on the fact that I think we can give a bit of narrative going forward in terms of the thing that's just happened to the team and then being bought out by the consortium of Lance Stroll, etc. But obviously we'll carry on with that as we go into the career mode, and I'll explain why I chose that option. Just going through the settings, and obviously, as I've already mentioned, with the fact that I'm on a gamepad and I haven't played this particular game for some time, I am going to leave some of the assists on. So ABS, traction control will be on full. I obviously are going to use automatic gearbox, but as things progress I will make changes to my setup and try to improve upon what I'm doing with the assists. I'm also going to set the AI to 50. I think that's a bit mean, but as I say, because I've not used this game for such a long time, I think it might be something that I need to kind of look at and evaluate as we go through the game. So as you just see me scrolling through some of the information in the dashboard, looking at the sort of tyres, gearbox, etc. And then we're going to move on to the R&D progress that the team is able to achieve throughout the season. It's split into 4 categories. So we have got powertrain, chassis, aerodynamic and reliability that we can concentrate on in terms of improving the car throughout the season. Now, because I've chosen to do Force India career, I'm going to try to mirror perhaps where Force India have been at the start of the season and until we get to the Belgian Grand Prix. So I won't be bringing a huge amount of updates to the aerodynamic side of things, and what I've concentrated on in this first career mode episode is improving the chassis side of things in terms of reducing weight. I've also done a couple of the time saving or process saving elements of the R&D tree in order that we can get some better performance on the car straight away. Some of the parts might not fail, because that does happen from time to time, so we got a better percentage in terms of failure rate. Okay, so moving into FP1 in Australia, and the first thing I'm going to do obviously is the track acclimatisation program. These are programs in order that obviously you can familiarise yourself with the circuit and also the tools that you have at your disposal.
Okay, the goal is to get through as many corner gates as quickly and precisely as possible. Remember to activate your DRS in the DRS zone as well.
And the first thing I actually do is I drop it on the second corner of me being in control of the car, and I'm doing some gardening. If it's the most expensive lawnmower on the planet, is our Force India. Now, the idea of the track acclimatisation program is that basically you go through gates. It's a way of showing you around the circuit in an optimised fashion. You could obviously use Racing Line to get an idea of that, but I don't race with the Racing Line, and this track acclimatisation program also assists the team in order of R&D, so we pick up R&D points that we can use again further down the line. It basically as well obviously improves my relationship with the car, because it helps me to understand where I should be positioning the car in terms of where the best place on the track is to get the best out of the car. And unfortunately, because again I'm going to use the racing driver experience problem with the gamepad, I actually dropped the car and caused some damage to the front wing, which I exacerbates by driving straight into the other side of the car, and now I've got a front wing that's damaged, and that kind of puts pay to this driver acclimatisation program from the get-go, especially as the first corner I take going into the rest of the program. I find that I've got a huge chunk of understeer, so I go back to the garage. I'm not going to cheat here and try to reset the program or anything. So we've completed the damage repair on the car, and I'm going to try the tyre management program next to try and get a firm understanding of how the car might perform with the tyres throughout a stint, in order that obviously the team can then work out as well the strategy that might be involved in this particular race. I always find this program quite interesting, or I did back in 2015-16, in order that obviously you can understand how and where to lean on the tyres. So it's interesting in that respect. And as we come across the line in a moment, what you'll see is there's a bar in the centre of the screen. One will go from red to green to purple, and those bars represent where the tyre wear would be in relation to obviously the driving that we're doing out on the circuit. In the top right hand corner you can see the target lap time, which obviously I'm a little astray from time to time. So that's the target lap time that the team have given me to complete the lap, whilst also obviously looking after the tyres. So we're in the green bar at the moment in terms of tyre wear, and I'm keeping to the delta. The programme's actually going quite well at the moment, considering I haven't played one of these games for quite some time. I might be a little bit slow, but at least I'm kind of there. Have to bear with me in terms of the way in which I use the pad, because obviously you'll get some jerky moments from time to time as I kind of try to figure out the best way to get around the circuit. Really struggling here in terms of those two corners, as we can see with the way in which that car's pulled away from me into the distance. So there's some time that I can find later on once I get the programs out of the way. And as we come towards the end of the lap, we can see that I'm more in the top end of the green of the tyre wear bar, and suddenly I stretch it out into the purple zone. So we're doing quite well in terms of this programme. I think we're going to get through at the end of the first lap. And as you can see, as I come through across the line at the end of the first lap, I've actually completed the programme. That actually went quite well, and it appears that the tyre wear with this car will be quite good, which is promising going into the rest of the season. So quickly moving on to the fuel management programme, and the fuel management programme is similar in the way in which you look at the screen and you see what's going on with the red to purple bar. Now, the way in which obviously we need to save fuel is that we'll do some lifting and coasting. You've obviously heard of that term following the sport anyway. So it's not optimal in terms of the actual lap time to lift and coast. Overall, if you're going for a hot lap, then you perhaps would do very little lifting and coasting. But when we're talking about running in the stint and being able to save fuel, it's quite a good tactic. Now, I'm struggling against the target lap time here in terms of keeping the fuel managed and also keeping within the target lap time. So I do know that I need to work on that. A bit of a corner cut there, and I got warned for exceeding the track limits. So yeah, well, again, I'll have to keep my eye on that, and that's the second time I've gone through that corner and not felt comfortable at all. But I'm still quite happy with the way in which the car's moving around, and I'm able to keep it within the track limits, on most occasions at least. And as we come round the final set of corners here, I've managed to lift and coast into several of these corners and scrub some of the speed off before hitting the brakes and basically saving fuel in that respect. And I've done that fuel management program in the first lap. So that's obviously given us plenty of time to concentrate on doing the rest of the programs. Now this is the interesting one, ERS management, which has been brought in for the 2018 game mode. Now, I really struggled with this to start with. I lost 2 laps straight away because I was way off the target times and I was too busy trying to switch between modes. So what I did on the 3rd lap is I just tried to stay within the target time and really run the first part of the lap in low mode because they're all the traction areas. So, you know, the ERS system was recovering more energy in the opening phase of the lap. And then towards the end of the lap, where we've got a few more straights, I then start to open things up and push the ERS deploy mode into medium, which obviously means that I'm reducing the amount of energy that's being recovered, but I'm also not going to sort of one of the high modes and really taking too much out of the system. So as we can see, I'm in purple. I'm still not doing exceptionally well lap time wise, but I'm keeping it relatively well within the track, which this early on in FP1 I'm quite pleased about. Still struggling with some of the braking zones because just trying to understand where's best to stomp on the brakes, etc. But as we cross the line for the end of the 3rd lap, you can see that obviously I completed the ERS management. All of these programs help to gain resource points that we can use to improve the car further down the line. And so now I'm back onto the track acclimatisation program, and once again it's a 3-lap process. So I picked up this particular lap. It's the third of the laps that I did with the Force India, and I'd already cleared the green bar. So basically it's in 2 sections or segments, this particular development program. So basically I'd already cleared the bulk of the development points, and then your target score increases, so you need to get more accuracy on the gates as you go through them. Now what's frustrating for me is obviously, the lap times again aren't fantastic, but there's only one green section on the entirety of this lap. Everywhere else I managed to get a purple. So it was almost a completely trouble-free lap from me. Obviously, as I say, it's a little bit slow in terms of the overall lap time, but it just gives you a feel for how you're going to perform out there, at least in the qualifying session, when it's you versus the track. And the biggest issue that I will have going into the race is the fact that you don't tend to have too much traffic around in these 3 practice sessions and obviously during qualifying. So we might struggle a little bit in the race depending on where we end up on the grid. And there we go. As you can see, I completed that session and got the full resource points. So we're now on 295 out of a possible 325 resource points, which obviously those resource points are going to come in really handy. I'm going to try to save quite a few towards the middle of the season and load quite a lot of performance onto the car once we get towards the middle of the season, purely because of the way in which that Force India's programme has gone this year. Now this is the interview phase of the new career mode. And as we can see, you have different options to select, and that can improve your improve your reputation with not only your own team but also other teams, in order that you may be able to get a better drive elsewhere in future seasons. You'll see in a moment where that all unfolds in comparison, because you get an idea of where the reputation of each team is in comparison to your value.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, and so we move on into qualifying, and we're in Q1 of qualifying, and as I round the corner to take on the first lap, we can see that the sun's quite low, and that did have an effect on my visibility throughout the qualifying session. As the sun was starting to fall behind the shadows, it made it a little bit duller, and then when the sun peeked out from behind the clouds, it was quite a bit of glare coming across the screen. So obviously, because it's in qualifying, we're on maximum fuel load, maximum fuel flow, and also we're in hot lap for the ERS system, which means we've got basically all the toys turned up to maximum, and we're going to try and get the best possible time we can out of the car. Unfortunately, in this first run, I put it on the grass there again and turned the car into a bit of a lawnmower, and it obviously gives me the opportunity to make an improvement throughout the rest of the session. But this is a banker lap at the end of the day. I'm not expecting a great deal in terms of the performance of the car, again relative to the lead cars at least anyway. So I just want to get a banker in. I want to get out of Q1 and into Q2. And at the moment I've just turned down the fuel mix and the ERS deployment in order that we can do some fuel saving and energy saving in this particular lap, in order that we can go again for the lap that follows. And we're off the circuit again as I make some changes on the heads-up display on the right-hand side. I got distracted by that and popped it off into the grass. And we're off down the straight, and we've got Raikkonen alongside us. As we're in Rich and overtake, we're actually pulling alongside him, which is interesting. As we go into turn one, we've got the Dane Magnussen coming out of the pit lane, and obviously he causes a bit more of a distraction, but I overtake him quite easily as he backs off. And as we go down into the next section of the circuit, I'm just trying to dial myself back in. That was really the first time that I'd had traffic out there, so that will make it for some interesting reading coming into the race. And as we can see by the marker coming up at the bottom of the screen, I've still got the Dane following me, so I'm not pulling away. But my delta time in the top right-hand corner says that I'm up on my previous lap, even though I've made a few mistakes. There's plenty left on the table here. I'm still bedding in, and again, the corner putting violation on that particular part of the track that I'm particularly weak at. I need to try to improve my line into that corner as we go off again slightly towards the end of the lap here. Still building confidence with the rich and hot lap modes, because obviously they do provide more performance than perhaps that I've ultimately had in the free practice sessions. So the DRS open, we're off down the straight, and as we can see, the delta time was quite significantly better than what we'd had before, and it popped me up into 10th place, just behind, unfortunately, Lance Stroll, and Marcus Ericsson is behind us. So I know straight away that if Lance Stroll is one spot ahead of me, that I'm going to have to perform a better lap time, because realistically speaking, we know the fact that the Williams is a much poorer car than ours, and we should be performing better than it going into qualifying, meaning that I need to pick up the performance. And once again, I struggle going into that corner, and I can see that I've got a couple of cars in behind me because the markers are coming up on the bottom of the screen. This could all get a bit interesting. Are we going to make Q2? This is the third lap now of this qualifying session, and I'm down on the delta. I'm a second down compared to where I was in the previous lap. So I'm not picking up any time. I've made mistakes and I need to get on with it. This is not good at all, I'm afraid. Still making mistakes, and that was a Ferrari piling into the back of me during qualifying, and caused a crash during qualifying. I think it's time to head for the pit lane and get out of people's way and put on another set of boots perhaps, because I think we're going to have to go again. This qualifying session is not going to plan at all. But as I say, I'm still getting used to the game. I'm not writing the session off entirely. I think we can do a little bit better, obviously. But we'll have to wait to see how this all plays out. As the guys roll the car back into the garage and we get prepared again to go out and try and put a decent lap time on the board. And as we scroll back into the garage here, we can see the track map. We can see where we are. We are down in 13th with Marcus Ericsson behind us and Lance Stroll ahead of us, which, as I've already mentioned, means that we know we need to go again, because
so far is 1 minute 30.
unless something serious happens, which I'm now starting to push the time on a bit quicker just to see how quickly we fall down the order. We're now in 14th and we've dropped into 15th, so yeah, I'm back out on track and I need to make some improvements. I pick up the lap midway through, because obviously you'll be seeing much of what's been going on in this particular qualifying session. There's no need to show you the entirety of the lap, but as you can see from the delta time in the top right hand corner, I've picked up a significant amount of time over my previous session, and it's pretty obvious that this lap, if I can hold it together, is going to be getting me out into Q2 from where we stand at the moment. So as we enter the last part of the lap, as you can see, there's still time to be had on the board. I'm nowhere near making the lines that I should be on this track, but I'm still holding out hope that I can make some improvements with the gamepad, because the times might not be fantastic, but let's see how we can get on with the rest of it. And it's into P3, 2.7 seconds quicker than my previous time. That's just astonishing. I don't know where I picked up that 2.7 seconds, because frankly I wasn't that actually quick at any point during free practice. So there is time to be found around this track if I can tie it all together. And out into Q2, and as we round the last corner, you can see that sun glare that I mentioned earlier. We pick up the DRS and we head out onto the qualifying lap.
That's P2. You're currently in second place.
And it's P2. Managed to get into second place with that particular lap, and I'm doing a 1:27.6. So, respectively, I actually popped myself onto the super softs as well and not the ultras for that particular session, because I just wanted to try to get a respectable time and hopefully get into the top 10. So now that means I can start the race on the super soft, and the only other driver to attempt that was Lewis Hamilton. So both myself and Hamilton will start the race on the super softs from within the top 10. So that gives us an advantage in reality compared to much of the midfield that we'll be fighting with. I'm not expecting to take this race to any of the guys ahead of me in reality, because I'm not on the same page as them. I'm driving a Force India, and as we can see, that's not good preparation. I did have a problem in terms of my battery running out on my Xbox controller, so this lap might be a bit of a problem, because I'm going to have to find time to get back into the groove again as I replace those batteries. So as we head down to this section of the track that I'm really not comfortable with, we can see that I'm down on the delta time and really struggling to get anywhere near where I really need to be for the qualifying free session. I'm currently in P9. And as I say that, suddenly we pick up something compared to the Delta. I'm now at a second, 1.2. Back a bit of grass cutting again as we come around the last corner, and I'm a second ahead of where I would expect to be, Delta wise. And as we cross the line, third position, 3/10 off the lead, unbelievable. And that leaves us down in P6 by the end of qualifying 3. So we're starting the grid at P6, if you will believe it. So I think we do need to have an adjustment of the AI level, because clearly I shouldn't be in that position. And as we can see, I've picked up some more R&D resource points, and this is where my reputation lies with the other teams. So I fell back in the Mercedes rankings, but everywhere else I seem to be picking up quite well.
I think we can call that a successful qualifying. We should be in with a good chance in the race.
Qualified higher than we were anticipating. Let's see if we can do just as well in the race.
Yes, my friend, we are punching, but then that might be to do with the fact of how low I've got the AI set, which was a bit of a rookie mistake going into this career mode, but we'll try and address that as we carry on through the season. And obviously now we're looking at the race strategy screen. We've got a couple of options available to us. As you can remember from qualifying, we managed to get through on the super soft in Q2, so that gave us the couple of options available to us. I'm going to try the first strategy on the list that you saw, which is a super soft into a soft.
Okay, our system checks are good. We need to stay in formation and start bringing the car up to temperature, please. Get some load into the tyres and work the brakes. We want them nice.
So yeah, here we're just going to do the formation lap, just to try and get temperatures into the brakes and the tyres, try and understand how that relates to a race start, and yeah, just bed the car in and get ourselves ready for the start of the race, being as I recorded free practice and qualifying on one day, and this is me jumping straight back in, no practice, straight back into a race situation. So the formation lap is actually quite handy in that respect, because it gives me a little bit of a sighter in terms of controls and the way that the car's going to behave. Have a look now on the MFD. I've brought up the tyre and brake temperatures just to monitor those, just to see what kind of effect I'm having by aggressively moving the car around, and obviously performing some high-speed braking events, put some energy into the brakes and then into the tyres. So yeah, like I say, it's just a bit of a feel into the race situation, given the fact that I've had a bit of a break between the two previously recorded sessions. So as we come round into the last few corners here, unfortunately you don't grid up with the formation lap, so we are going to have the computer take control in a few seconds, which means that we won't do the sort of burnouts, etc., that you might expect drivers to be doing as they file down to the start of the race.
Keep an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid is formed. Be ready with the clutch.
Okay, so we're ready with to get to going, and 5 lights, and we're a go. And unfortunately, it's a bit of a sluggish start. I've got a couple of cars attacking me, so we've got Magnussen off down the left-hand side of us, forced us a bit wide. And what the hell is that, Magnussen? Drifted it out in front of his car, and yeah, that's. I'm just going to hold him off into that corner, because I decided to let him go in the end, because I think I was just going to hold him up to the point whereby it was going to affect my race at the beginning of the race. And we'll just follow this action around the first lap, so I get myself used to the gamepad again, and how much I'm moving the pad around in terms of getting myself sorted. We're up into overtake mode now, and I'm going to try and have a pop at Magnussen. Pop lap. We'll see where we are. It's not my favourite corner there, but just give him a bit of elbows, a bit of how's your father, thank you very much Magnussen, because you kind of punted us at the start of the race, so I'll just have a bit of a get back at him there. Cycling back down the ERS deploy mode, just trying to settle myself back into some kind of rhythm. And as we go out over the line after the first lap, I've managed to keep in 6th place. So as we scroll back to the replay at the start, I just want to see what happened with Magnussen. As I say, I did kind of get a poor start and bogged down, so it did allow him to get up and alongside us on the left-hand side. Cut my entrance to the corner a bit sharp and meant I had to go out to the grass, but as you can see, he just pinched me and pushed me off down the track. Okay, so as we come to the end of lap 2, I'm coming out and I've managed to catch up to Raikkonen. Now obviously DRS is going to be activated at the start of the next lap, so I'm using the DRS deployment mode to try and make an advantage on Raikkonen going into turn 1.
Currently we're 9 places above where we predicted. Carry on with the job you're
9
doing.
places above where we predicted. Well, I think that's mostly to do with the fact that I've got the AI set at 50, to be perfectly honest. We'll have to address that in the coming races.
Ricardo is stopping now.
So Ricardo's made his first pit stop, and remember that the other guys ahead of us are
We're
all
approaching the pit window.
on
You'll be on the
the
softs.
ultra soft tyre rather than us on the super soft. So at some point during this race we should be in the lead. We've only got Bottas out in front of us now because Vettel actually stopped as well as Ricardo. And as you could see with the MFD just there, I was just checking my tyre wear just to see what kind of situation we're in. At this stage of the race I was actually struggling a little bit in terms of the weight of the car, because obviously, you know, I've not really done any high fuel runs during free practice, tried to concentrate on the practice
Be aware, we
programs.
expect the grip levels to start falling away soon.
And as my engineer said, we're expecting the grip level to start to fall away. But obviously we should be going a little bit longer into this race, purely because we started on the super soft tyre, whereas everybody else around us was on the ultras. I'm just going to try to really shortcut in that corner there. Unfortunately, that corner has been a real bugbear of mine throughout practice, qualifying, and now into the race as well. So yeah, I hope that doesn't come to bite us throughout the race. I obviously having problems with that particular corner and just taking the right line in and out of there. Just trying to squeeze the throttle on exit, back out onto the pit straight. And our delta showing us that we're a little bit off the pace, obviously. We're now on lap 11 of this race. As we scroll forward to the middle part of the race, the middle part of the circuit, sorry, and as you can see we're now in first place because Bottas has made his pit stop. And there we go, track limits again at that
We've been
corner.
awarded a time penalty. It'll go against our finishing time at the end of the
So that'll be a
race.
3-second penalty at the end of the race. So yeah, as we come to the end of lap 12, we've got myself, Alonso
We want to pit this lap, so
and
push
Vettel. The pit crew are telling me I need to pit, and
now. Gap to teammate behind is 18.
I'm checking out the
Vettel has just posted the fastest lap of the race.
checking
so
out the
far.
wear indicator on the tyres and thinking, well, they're not looking too shabby. Unfortunately, at the end of this lap, I have a really scruffy end to the lap. Pull up the MFD again just to have a quick look at the tyres, and they're only sort of in the late 40s. Following lap, unfortunately, I do pop it into the wall on the last corner. But as I round the first corner, starting lap 15, we can see that my teammate is off to the left-hand side. Don't know what happened there, whether he's had to retire or whether he'll finish the race. So we're still leading, Vettel in second, and unfortunately I'm having a bit of a mare now. Tyres are really starting to wear. Should have pitted, but I've kind of committed to a longer strategy, and I've got Vettel coming up the outside of me. And unfortunately he has just ploughed into the side of me, and I got a warning for the collision. I'm changing strategies on my MFD. I'm going longer. I'm going to try and make the soft tyre in my second stint give me a bit more performance towards the end of the race, basically. Just going to take the pain towards the middle of this stint, because I shouldn't be racing these guys anyway, so I'm just going to see what type of wear I can get out of the super soft tyre here. And as we can see, I've got Hamilton for company. Pop it into overtake mode, and as we progress through lap 16, we can see that the proximity marker is in behind me, and Hamilton's catching me at a rate of knots. So it's not going to be long before the Mercedes driver has a pop, just like Vettel did. And I'm kind of realising that, unfortunately, that I'm going to have to yield to the Mercedes driver. But I'm still fancying to put up a bit of a fight, just purely because I know that something might change towards the end of the race. And as I pinch him onto that back corner there, he's really on my tail now, into the gearbox, and I expect him to make a move. So I cut that off to try to keep a tight line going into that corner, and it's been successful so far. So I'm messing around with the ERS deploy for a bit more electrical energy, just towards the tail end of this lap, to try and keep Hamilton at bay a little bit longer. Hopefully I've broken the DRS on Hamilton's car, but as we can see from the proximity marker, he is in quite close quarters to us going towards turn 1. And I've run wide, unfortunately, and that's allowed Hamilton to come up the inside of us, and he's clear. I'm going to let him go, because I'm not only compromising his race, I'm compromising my own. As we cut away to the helicam, nice view of what's going on following us around the circuit. I do like the replay mode on F1 2018. It obviously allows us to have a few cut scenes where we can see some other angles from what's going on aside from what I'm doing in the cockpit. And as we come to the end of lap 17, I've decided that I've had enough of these tyres, and it is time to get onto the soft tyre. And we cut away for a cut scene again for the pit stop. As we can see, I'm changing the nose cone because I took that damage in the middle of that stint, and it was actually starting to have an effect on the way the car was performing, with quite a bit of understeer actually. So as we come out from the pit exit, I think we're going to exit into a bit of traffic, purely because of the type of strategy that I've just put myself onto. So we've got Raikkonen in behind us and Sainz up ahead, and I'm basically pulling away from Raikkonen purely because I've got newer tyres, and not because obviously I've got a better car than him. It's just purely down to tyre performance at this point in the race. I do feel a lot more comfortable having come out of the pit lane on the much fresher tyres, and the car's obviously starting to burn off a lot of the fuel now, so the car's starting to perform a little better than it did at the start of the race. And obviously I'm back into understanding where I need to be with the gamepad, because as I say, I did. And we're coming up on our teammate Ocon.
You're catching the car ahead by a couple of seconds.
Overtaking him down the pit straight into turn 1. He's obviously yielding to us because of blue flags anyway, but that has given us a chance to catch up onto the back of Carlos Sainz. We're in a strange position now because obviously there's a tyre offset going on. We're on a much fresher tyre than many of the other runners around us, so that is giving us this tyre offset. So I'm just trying to keep this lap tidier, trying to catch up to Sainz in order that we can try and recover some more points. We're currently in 9th position and I'm catching him at quite a rate of knots because obviously his tyres are starting to wear. As I come to my completely unfavoured corner, that might put me into the DRS zone going out onto the next straight, but I felt a bit of dirty wake there affecting the front of the car as we came through that sort of pit path that I struggle with. It did give me the DRS though because I managed to close it quite close to him, which obviously then brought me closer to him for the latter stages of this lap. A lot of the performance here is coming from the tyre offset and being able to brake much later than Carlos. So as we head out onto the main straight, we can see from the cutscene here that the DRS popped open in the rear view mirror, and we go out alongside Carlos, and it's a fairly innocuous pass at the end of the day with DRS and with the tyre offset that we've got. We're quite easy. It was quite easy pickings. And now we're in 8th position and chasing Grosjean. Had a nice exit there. Got the ERS deploy into overtake. Got DRS enabled and we're taking down the inside. Again, quite an easy manoeuvre. And I'll turn the ERS deploy down to 0. We cut down to lap 25 or towards the end of lap 25, and I've managed to catch up to Alonso, who is in 6th position.
The safety car has been deployed.
Okay, we've got a safety car, and this is obviously right towards the end of the race. Is going to make quite a bit of difference. Oh, I'm too busy adjusting things on the MFD, and it's Sebastian Vettel who's out of the race. That's why we've got the safety car. I'll mix down to lean, ERS down to low, and basically want to try to recover some energy and some fuel in order that when the safety car does come in, we'll have some extra fuel to play with. So if we look up to the left here, there is a parked Ferrari. Sebastian Vettel. And we put forward now we're on lap 27 and we've caught up to the back of the safety car train.
Safety car in this lap, safety car in this lap. Let's make sure those tyres are up to temperature, and remember there is no overtaking until the first safety car line. Stay in position until the green flags.
So we're in 5th and we've got Hamilton right up our chuff, and we are thinking about where can we actually finish this race. But just remember we've got that 3-second time penalty that is going to have an impact. We've got basically a couple of laps to try to make up 3 seconds on those around us in order that we get the best position possible. There's definitely a podium on here, but it's where I'm affected by that 3-second penalty. Everything ramped up, overtake and rich mode now, which is what I've been saving during the safety car period. Decent exit off of the last turn, and hopefully that should give us the toe on Alonso, who's moving a lot slower than us, and yeah, that's an easy pass into turn 1. Now it's time to get after the others. Yeah, so now it's time to get after the others, and I'm basically going to run at high engine modes and ERS deployment here to try to catch up to them, as I've managed to save quite a bit during the safety car period. But remember, I'm obviously chasing cars that should be a lot quicker than us. However, obviously we have got the AI set quite low, so we'll see where this all pans out. As I've had a few poor corners, and we can see that we've got the proximity markers behind us, which means Hamilton's in our wake. And I think he actually touched the rear of the car then, so much so because I'm obviously quite slow in that sector. I've flipped the fuel down to standard, and I'm playing around with the ERS deploy, and we've got a yellow flag.
Yellow flag.
What's going on here? And Ricardo is retiring from the race, which promptly puts us up into P3 and on the podium. So I'm all out overtake on the ERS, and I'm going to lick the stamp and send it to Verstappen. T1 pass on Verstappen. I basically did a Verstappen on Verstappen. And I'm after Valtteri Bottas. In the last lap of this race, I've got everything on rich, high, and I'm basically chasing the thing. But, you know, we also have to be mindful that I'm going to get that 3-second penalty at the end of the race as well, which could push us back down off the podium. So I'm just going to let you watch the tail end of this lap unfold and see what we can actually achieve towards the end of the race.
We've pretty much burned off our excess fuel. We'll be back on target soon. Don't wait too long to turn the engine down.
Yeah, I just don't have the legs on Bottas, if I'm honest. Catching up during the cornering, but obviously on the straights, the Mercedes power unit in the works team effort is performing a little better than it is in our car. I have obviously got the lower downforce setup on for this race, if you remember. But yeah, quite a result. Second place on the road.
Well done, good finish. You stepped up and achieved what we asked.
As you can see, that has pushed us down to 4th place in the standings, purely because of the 3-second time penalty. Fernando Alonso ended up on the podium because Lewis Hamilton also got a time penalty. I'm not sure where he picked that up. Perhaps it was the collision with us towards the end of the race. So as we can see, I'm picking up some more resource points, which will be coming in handy when we're looking at the development phase again. So I picked up another 223, giving us an overall total of 1133. Reputation-wise, I took a massive leap forward with Force India, but surprisingly, I lost some rep with Mercedes.
Excellent result today. Finishes like that will look good on your contract reviews. On to the next one. We've received invitations to new historic events. You'll be able to choose whether or not to participate before the end of this weekend.
Okay, so we there's a bit of a bonus. I'm going to go into one of those challenges after we've had a look at the R&D tree again and just worked out what we're going to do with Force India going forward, and have a quick chat about the whole Force India situation and what I'm going to do with the rest of this season. So because of what's happened with Force India and the mid-season buyout of the team by Lawrence Stroll and the consortium, what I'm going to do is try with this career mode to kind of mirror what happened with Force India in terms of their development path, which has been quite sluggish throughout the start of the season. They had a new front wing arrive in Bahrain, but never actually raced it until Monaco. So yeah, if we look through the chassis tree, the tree here, the R&D tree, I've got obviously the durability for the gearbox underway, which will give us some better wear on the gearbox going forward. And I think we might spend some R&D points on the energy store and the MGUK, as we can only use 2 of those throughout the season without taking any penalties. So we'll perhaps have a look at doing those at the next race. I'm having a look here at the aerodynamic section, which, as I've mentioned, I'm going to ease off of that side of things and try to get that front wing in for Monaco onwards. So yeah, we'll maybe just work on the chassis going forward. We've already got the energy store cells being made lightweight within the next couple of races, and the next one on from there is an engine cover weight reduction, which is going to cost us 1,000 R&D points. So we've got enough for that, and I think we might take that option going into the next race to improve the weight, make the the Force India a bit more nimble, because obviously we're not doing any aero development. I want to start to try to take some weight out of the car. So yeah, if we just look at the R&D overview here, we can see that the powertrain is by far our biggest advantage, and compared to the other teams, we're just a little bit ahead of the Toro Rosso team in terms of where we're sitting in the order. McLaren, Haas and Renault are a little bit further ahead of us, and that's where I anticipate us being for the opening part of this season, because of us not doing too much R&D, saving those points for the latter stages of the season. So we're going to go on to the checkpoint challenge with the Ferrari 312 T2, and it's around Suzuka's short version of the track, and basically we've got to complete a certain distance whilst gaining time through going through gates. So our target distance is 7.8 kilometres, and obviously this car behaves very differently to the one we've just been driving, so I'm taking the first lap quite easily just to try to understand how the car behaves. Clearly it doesn't have the raw horsepower of the car that we've just stepped out of, but I feel a bit like Lance Stroll here, testing cars outside the rules of the season. So yeah, you don't see drivers, F1 drivers, tending to drive other cars these days, with the exception of Fernando Alonso, obviously, who's competing in WEC this year in tandem with his McLaren career. But yeah, we've only got 5 gears in this car. Top speed's a little bit down as well. We're tapping out there at 161 miles an hour before hitting the brakes going into turn 1. In fact, I just coasted into that corner and see what it had, just threw the car in there just to see what we've got. It's a bit lively, the car tends to rotate very differently to the more modern stuff, but it's really fun to drive actually. I really fancy doing one of the races with these cars, and obviously this is more of a bonus feature that we're tagging on to the end of the episode here, but basically we don't have to do these. They don't give us any extra R&D, so we're just adding them as a let's just see what we can do with the car. Bit of fun really, throw it around and see what it's got. So as you can see, I'm now quite close to the target distance, and I'll keep going quicker through each sector because I'm learning the car quite well, understanding its behaviour profile and getting closer to the curbs. We're up to over 6 kilometres now, so we're quite close to the target. Plenty of time on the board to achieve the results as we head out down the pit straight. And we lift for turn 1, and that's a gentle curvature into the second one. That's it, we've hit the target, and just as we do that, I have a bit of a switcher on and pop it into the gravel. And we've got it going in the right direction again. Time clock, 12 seconds to go, and we're going to make the next checkpoint is the question, and how much further mileage wise can we get out of the car before the timer runs out. So I've grabbed that timer. We've got 11 seconds to get to the next gate, which will be quite tight, I would imagine. That was literally on the buzzer, so I don't think we're going to make the next gate. But obviously we've made the distance. It's quite a fun car to drive, and that's the end of that particular session. We've passed the international event checkpoint challenge. There we go, you can see that we've travelled the 7.8 kilometres that we were meant to by doing 9.35 kilometres. And that's it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. and I hope you'll be back to watch the next episode. If you'd like to smash that like button so that I know that you're enjoying the episode, and also subscribe so that you can check out future content. I've been Summers, and join me again for the Bahrain Grand Prix.